Hello everyone, welcome to this video where I am going to show how to construct a side-by-side bar graph in StatCrunch. This is a task that we need to do for number 4 on this particular lab, and a side-by-side bar graph, it's not the most obvious thing to create on StatCrunch, so I would like to walk you all through this, and in doing so I will hopefully elucidate some functionalities in StatCrunch that you may find useful on future assignments. So let's take a look at this one. I have a StatCrunch window open here, and I'm going to begin by copy and pasting all of, actually this raw data block, I want to use that second. I'm going to come in here with this one that's already nicely organized. These are the ages split up into classes, and these are simply a frequency chart, so we're getting the frequencies for the number of licensed drivers, and I'm going to copy and then paste those. I should Control C, Control V to copy paste. And we got that one. Now, these columns, this would be a nice time to rename these. These are the ages, just so that we know what we're looking at later. This is this one here, frequency of the licensed, like this, frequency licensed, I'll call it that. Now, what we're going to make for the side-by-side bar graph is going to be relative frequencies. And so this var3 column, I would like to compute something, so I'm going to go data, compute an expression. The expression is going to be, I just want to not have to type that again. I want to take each one of these items from the frequency chart there for the licensed drivers, and I want to divide it by the sum of that column. When we add up the whole column, of course, that's telling us how many people were sampled to begin with, which this is going to make our relative frequency. So it's going to go 9.2 divided by whatever's all of these added up, and that gives us a relative frequency of 5%. And then I can rename this. I can call this one relative frequency for the, I'm going to just type L there, so relative frequency for the licensed, and we're looking pretty good. Now we need to do the same thing for the drivers that got killed. We need to come up with relative frequencies for these. So what I'm going to do, this may not be the best way, the most direct way, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to try it out. I want to take all of those ages, I'm going to copy and paste them into StatCrunch, and I end up with a block like this. And then I want to take those data and arrange them by stacking. It started on var4, it's going all the way to the end. I want to stack all of those. And so now I end up with some new, let me see my bar there to go left and right. I have some new columns. I don't actually need this var4 through var14, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete those columns from var4 through var14. Don't need them. And now I've got just a stacked column, which these are going to be just the raw data for the ages of the drivers that got killed. And so what I can make is a histogram out of these. So I want to go over here to make a histogram. This histogram is going to give me the relative frequencies. And so that's in var15, make a histogram. Here I would like the relative frequencies. And a histogram, as you know, this is going to have the bins. They call them bins instead of classes, instead of StatCrunch. These bins, they all have to have a constant width. Of course, the width of a class in a histogram is the difference of consecutive limits. So consecutive upper limits, in this case 29 minus 19, that's a width of 10. Or else you can see all of these 20 to 30 to 40 to 50. The consecutive lower limits also have a difference of 10. This first class is a weird one, but I'm going to ignore that first class and allow the first one to count everything that goes from 10 to 19. So I want it to start at 10, have a width of 10, and then I'm going to compute it. And I end up with relative frequency. There's an option I wish I would have chosen, which I can go back and edit these options and only choose this one, value above the bar. That way I don't have to hover over each bar to see the value there. The values are just there with the 0.3, 0.24. So now I can come here. I'm going to call this one relative frequency of the K, which for killed. And I'm just going to type them in. These ones I'm corresponding to this list of the classes that's in ages. So I'm going to go right here, 0.3, this next one, 0.24, 0.14. I am just typing these in manually. I thought there might be a way to do it in StatCrunch where I could have it sort this data from the histogram into a relative frequency chart like this. If any of y'all could figure out how to do it, that would be great if you could help me, but that wasn't too bad. So we're done. We got those relative frequencies. Okay, so now this frequencies for the licensed. We don't really care about that for the split, or what are we calling it here, the side-by-side bar graph. I don't care about var 15 anymore. The ones that I'm interested in, and I could even delete those unnecessary ones if I wanted to. Frequency of licensed, var 15, don't care. Oops, I get rid of that one. Okay, so I've got the ages. I have the relative frequency of licensed, relative frequency of killed. Now to make a side-by-side bar graph, here comes the big one. I want to make the graph which is called a chart. A chart is a little bit more customizable than just bar plot, I find. So I want to make a chart out of some columns. I want to use these two columns, and I can use horizontal bars. I think of a bar chart as going up and down though, so I want to use vertical bars that are split. You can try some of the other types and see that this one is probably going to look the best. And the row labels are coming from those ages. I want to label each bar by these age ranges that are the classes. And then if I go compute, there we have it, something nice to look at, a side-by-side bar graph. And if we hover over these, we could see the heights. This might be something that when you make one, I wonder if I could have just, there's no such option for this one to put the value above the bar. And so maybe on your actual side-by-side bar graph that you put on your lab, you might label these heights. But it actually looks okay just to be able to see the heights using this y-axis we could see on there. And then you can see how this makes it very nice to compare the two data sets. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks.